Let's go to Paris now, and joining us from there is TRT World's editor-at-large, Craig Copetas. Welcome to the show, Craig. Look, the US has some of the world's toughest antitrust, pro-competition rules. If these companies are found guilty of conspiring with one another to fix prices, how did they get away with it?
Well, they got away with it because they could charge high prices for generic drugs. Generic drugs were created to lower prices, and they didn't. What you have here, Azar, is a collision between the immovable object of the pharmaceutical industry and the irresistible force of the insurance industry, because the insurance industry is paying for the pharmaceuticals, and they've been taken from Peter to pay Paul, and it's too expensive. And as you said, this is more than collusion. This is a conspiracy.
Craig,
those are the charges.
Indeed. What needs to be done, do you think, to ensure that generic drugs remain affordable, while also ensuring at the same time that drug makers have enough money to fund research into new drugs?
Look, this is all part of the root and branch change that is going on with the American healthcare system right now, and it really does need to be ripped up by the roots. Look, drugs cost money, but when I can go to a pharmacy in Paris and, pay a few bucks for a bottle of ampicillin, and in the United States it costs me $200, $250, depending on the insurance company, you know something's wrong. They have to come to more of a European model, democratic socialist model.
Craig, so there have been examples of where the introduction of generic drugs have not resulted in significant cost savings for hospitals and doctors. So is the pharmaceutical sector an area that should actually not be commercially driven at all and instead be funded entirely by government grants, for example?
Ooh, well, now you perhaps are going a little bit too far for America's DNA. Look, you cannot talk about the pharmaceutical industry in the United States without talking about the insurance industry, which pays for it. Now, what you have here is 46 attorneys general, are going after 18 drug companies and putting 15 specific drugs on the line, saying you're charging too much. Now, you always want to know what's the price point here. Well, in 2015, sales of these generic drugs topped $74 billion in the United States. 88% of all prescriptions written in the United States are for generic drugs. It's a moneymaker, and Big Pharma has been allowing the insurance industry to pay for it. It's a symbiotic relationship that's going on there. So, you got to talk to the insurance industry, too, before you can settle this problem. But it seems here that a lot of people may be going to jail, including two CEOs of two big companies, Mylan and MCure, who are big generic drug manufacturers in the U.S.
Craig,
it's a big deal.
Finally, Craig, if the U.S. clamps down on the regulation of generic drugs, do you think it could affect makers of such drugs in other parts of the world, such as India, for example?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of pharmaceutical production in other parts of the world, and to be sure, a lot of Americans go across the border to Canada or Mexico or even to India and even Turkey to get the drugs they need at a more reasonable price, including the medical care. Why, Azar? Because the insurance companies won't pay for it, or it's too much money for them to handle with the deductible.
Craig Copetas in Paris. Thank you so much.